welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. So what I have for you guys today, it is going to be an episode of the Championship Roundup, although we don't really have too many games to go ahead and talk about. Only 6 of the Championship games this weekend went ahead, the rest of them were postponed, but fear not, guys, we also have a full fixture list coming in midweek as well, which we're also going to be going ahead and predicting in today's video. So in the first half of the video, guys, we're going to be going ahead and speaking about all 6 Championship matches which did take place this weekend, and then in the second half of the video, we're going to be going ahead and making our predictions for the midweek games in the Championship. So make sure you do leave a comment in the comments down below as to what did you make of your team's performance this weekend if they were one of the teams who did play, and then also as well, make sure you do leave your predictions in the comments down below. All of this week's midweek fixtures will be listed in the description, and then you guys can easily go ahead and make your predictions. And speaking of your predictions, guys, I will include your comments on screen now, so if any of you guys did successfully manage to get any of your score predictions correct this weekend, fair play to you, honestly, because there was only 6 games which did take place, you know. None of mine were correct this weekend, but fair play to everyone who did get a correct score prediction. So we'll start out today's video, guys, by talking about the game on Friday night. That took place between Middlesbrough and Leeds, and in the end it was Middlesbrough who managed to go ahead and claim the 3-0 home victory. Now, this could be a massive result in Middlesbrough's season, as of course it was Patrick Bamford who went ahead and scored the hat-trick to pick up all the goals. Now, there was a bit of a concern from me, you know, with Middlesbrough going into this tail end of the season that they weren't going to have enough firepower, really, of course. They've lost Rudiger Stead, they went ahead and lost Ashley Fletcher and Martin Braithwaite in the transfer window as well, and with Aston not really firing at the moment, all the pressure has been put on Patrick Bamford, but the goal-scoring run he's going on at the moment is at just the right time for Middlesbrough. But Leeds' defending in this one certainly helped the cause, you know. The second goal, Felix Wiedwald, I thought had to be saving that, really, you know. I went ahead and put him in my top 10 flops of the season so far, and this was another example of why, you know. It was quite weak goalkeeping and weak defending in general, really. I was very disappointed by the Leeds performance, but the 2 standout players for Borough, of course, had to be Patrick Bamford and Adama Traore as well. He was just weaving in and out of this Leeds defence at will. He was absolutely cutting them open, and realistically, he's just too good for the Championship. In this game, he went ahead and picked up 2 assists, and Middlesbrough looked very comfortable in this one, only 2 points outside the playoffs now. The next game, we had a local encounter between Bolton Wanderers and Preston North End, where in the end it was Preston who managed to walk away with the 3-1 away victory. And for our season, really, this victory was massive for us. Realistically, coming off the back of that 1-0 defeat we had to Ipswich last time, and considering the poor record we've got at the moment against the bottom 6 sides in the Championship, getting 3 points in this game could be huge for us going into this tail end of the season, of course, and still chasing the playoffs. But it was Bolton, in fairness to them, who did take the lead in this one. A bit of a sloppy goal for us to concede, really. It took a couple of ricochets, but then Beavers managed to go ahead and slot that into the back of the net. And for the majority of the first half, I'd say it was fairly even. We probably edged it with some of the chances we did have, but I honestly did think it was going to be one of those games where Bolton managed to snatch the opening goal and then they just sit back in a defensive block and we wouldn't be able to break them down. And in fairness to them, they did manage to frustrate us for all of about 50 minutes, but then a little bit of space got in behind. Callum Robinson weighted his pass perfectly and Tom Barkhuizen slotted it in for the equaliser. And when Preston equalised, realistically, you could only see one thing happening, you know. Bolton, in the second half, they just looked like they were lacking a plan, really, you know. They looked quite disjointed and they were just banking on Preston not scoring another goal, really, you know. Going forward, they weren't really offering anything for this game, and the game-changing moment had to come when Alex Neil went ahead and introduced both Josh Harrop and Shawnee Maguire. Maguire has been out with an injury since November and came back into this one and got both goals to go ahead and win it for Preston, and his influence from now until the end of the season could be massive for us. His pace going forward and his poaching ability inside the box is just what we've been missing. The next game saw Bristol City go ahead and get back to winning ways with a very convincing 4-0 home victory over Sheffield Wednesday. Now, coming into this game, Bristol City had really let their form slip recently, and with some of the other teams in and around them not playing this weekend, this was a massive chance for them to go ahead and obviously maintain that top 6 place and put down a statement of intent, and they more than did that in this one. It was Bobby Reid, their top goal scorer this season, who bagged a hat-trick in this game, and Josh Brownhill with the other goal. But what I was most impressed about more than anything was it was the signs that we've not seen from a while from Bristol City coming coming back into this game, you know. Earlier on in the season, they were just running rampant at teams going forward, and some of the interchanging moves they had in this game, especially with some of the creativity coming from midfield and then Bobby Reed finishing them off, was fantastic to watch in this game. Sheffield Wednesday, they didn't really help themselves defensively. I thought they could have done better with a couple of the goals, and going forward as well, you know, we've seen Bristol City crumble this season when teams play quite a direct style against them. I wanted to see that from Sheffield Wednesday, you know, especially as they had Giao and Nuhiu up front. They had the opportunity to do that, but in the end, they finished without a shot on target. So, disappointing from Wednesday, but Bristol City, very impressive in this game. Now, next game saw Fulham go ahead and claim a 2-1 away victory at Derby County. So Fulham now have gone above Derby in the league, and this could be a massive result for them come the end of the season, of course. Fulham do still have the possibility of going ahead and sneaking into the automatic promotion places, and with their ridiculous form in the Championship at the moment, I wouldn't put it past them. Mitrovic at the moment, he managed to go ahead and open the scoring from this one, is in terrific form and just the sort of player that Fulham were in need of, really, you know. In the first half of the season, Fulham were playing some good football but weren't being anywhere near clinical enough, and now that Mitrovic gives them that focal point going forward, we see so many more opportunities opening for their wide players, and of course Mitrovic being as clinical as he is. And then it was Ryan Sessegnon who went ahead and doubled the scoring after just 22 minutes, and then after that, realistically, to be 2-0 down to Fulham at half time, Derby just left themselves with too much to do, really. Of course, Tom Huddleston managed to grab a goal back for them, and they did have a bit of a surge towards the end. You know, Vidra had a decent chance, but in the end they weren't going to get back into this one. And Fulham, with their form at the moment, I'd be interested to hear from you guys. Do you think the top two is still possible? Let me know down below. Our next game then went ahead and finished as a 1-1 draw, as Millwall were held at home to Sunderland, but it was Sunderland who opened the scoring through Brian Oviedo with an absolute rocket of a goal to go ahead and make it 1-0 to Sunderland. And after that, realistically, their game plan was just to try and hold on to that. They didn't really have anything else going forward in this game apart from that goal. You know, they only had 2 shots in the entirety of it, and for large majorities of it, you know, it took them until 70 minutes, Millwall, to get back into this game. I thought that Sunderland's plan of just sitting back and trying to hold on to what they have would actually work, but in the end it was Hutchinson who managed to go ahead and get the equaliser, and by just looking at the match stats, really, you can see by what sort of game this was. Steele had to be on his toes for Sunderland. He made some decent saves in this game, and I thought that Millwall, they'd have been quite frustrated, really, as they did dominate proceedings in this one. Not being clinical enough, though, in this game. It probably wasn't their best performance on this current unbeaten run they're going under, but Sunderland, it's a decent point because Millwall's a tough place to go to, but realistically, if they are going to get out of the relegation zone, these are the games they need to be winning. And our final game to go ahead and talk over, so Nottingham Forest go ahead and pick up a 2-1 home victory over Birmingham. And of course, this result now means that Steve Cottrell went ahead and lost his job at the end of this game, so Birmingham fans, I'll be very interested to hear from you guys. But in terms of how this match went, it was Joe Lolly who gave Forest the lead in this one with quite a nice strike. I thought that Stockdale probably could have saved it. You know, he seemed to get down to it. It just squirmed under him in the end, so I thought he could have maybe done a little bit better with that. Birmingham, it wasn't their worst performance of the season so far. You know, they certainly had chances to get back into this game, and they probably were getting into some decent areas, actually. It was just they didn't have that clinical nature to go ahead and finish them off when they did get into those areas. You know, Jukovic got into some decent positions, Adams as well, but overall we can see from Birmingham that they are lacking confidence, and in the end it was Matty Cash who managed to go ahead and double the scoreline. Of course, Birmingham, they did get back into it with a nice header from Morrison, but in the end that was never going to be enough for them. So Birmingham fans, I'd be very interested to hear from you guys, as where do you think you go from here? When I'm recording this video, Gary Monk is currently the favourite to go ahead and take over at Birmingham. It could have already happened by the time you guys are watching this, but do you think if that is going to be the case, Birmingham will have enough to survive this season? Let me know in the comments down below, because when you look over that squad, it's not a bad team, you know. Out of the sides at the bottom of the table, you probably argue that Birmingham have the best team on paper, but looking over how devoid of confidence they are at the moment, it's going to be an uphill battle for them. So there were all the matches that did take place this weekend. So in terms of my results of the weekend, quite a few contenders for this one actually, but myself, I'm going to give it to Bristol City for picking up that 4-0 home victory over Sheffield Wednesday, of course. They were coming off the back of quite a torrid run they've recently gone under, and to play that well and put in that performance, they're going to get my result of the weekend. And then in terms of my goal of the weekend, for me personally, there could only be one. It is going to go for Brian Oviedo of Sunderland for his wonder strike against Millwall. So guys, there were all the matches that did take place this weekend in the Championship. So now guys, we will move on into my score predictions for what I think will happen in midweek. So like I said at the start of the video guys, all of these will be listed in the description down below. Then you guys can easily go ahead and make your predictions. And then if you do successfully manage to get any of your predictions right, I will include your comment at the start of the next video. But enough of that guys, let's get into some of my predictions. So our first game sees Birmingham go up against Middlesbrough, and this is quite a tricky one to go ahead and predict really, of course. When a team goes ahead and sacks their manager, usually you get a bit of a bounce around the club, you know, you get a bit more expectations going around, a couple of players may be put out of their comfort zones as they don't have that, I suppose, thing to blame anymore. You know, the players really need to stand up for this one, but with how well Middlesbrough are playing at the moment and how well Traore and Bamford are linking up, I'm going to go for a 2-1 away victory in that game. We then see Burton Albion going up against Brentford, and of course with both of these two sides not in action at the weekend, both squads should be pretty fresh for this one, of course. Burton Albion, they need to be picking up points, but going against a side like Brentford who have so much tenacity when they're going forward, not going to be an easy encounter for them, and I'm gonna back the 2-0 away victory for this game. We then got Cardiff going up against Barnsley. Barnsley recently have definitely seemed to pick up their form, of course. A large majority of that is down to McBurney, and with that option going forward now, Barnsley are in a position where they can score goals. But going up against this Cardiff side who have got probably one of the best home records in the Championship, I've got to be backing a home victory for this one. And with Cardiff, of course, not playing at the weekend either, they're going to be fresh for this game as well. So I'm going to be backing a 2-1 home victory for Cardiff in this game. Then Fulham going up against Sheffield United. Arguably this could be the best game we've got going on midweek. Fulham at the moment in unbelievable form, and Sheffield United, of course, currently still chasing the playoffs. They're not too far behind Bristol City at the moment, and I mean, you could argue that Sheffield United maybe have a bit of an advantage as they didn't play at the weekend, whereas Fulham did. But even so, just with how good Fulham have been at the moment, you know, to watch them recently, they have been absolutely staggering. I'm going back a 2-1 home victory for Fulham. We then got Hull going up against Millwall. Once again, Hull putting in some decent performances recently, you know, especially at home. Their record seems to have picked up over the last few weeks, and going up against this Millwall side, I didn't think they were brilliant against Sunderland. You know, they were a bit frustrated in that game, and this one could take a similar pattern, so I'm also going to back a 1-1 draw for this game. Norwich going up against Nottingham Forest. This is another game which, honestly, I see it heading towards a draw. I'm going to back this one to finish as a 1-1, of course. Norwich this season, draws at home is just what they seem to be used to at the moment, and with Nottingham Forest, their form has definitely picked up recently under Karanka. Then we've got my club, Preston North End, going up against Bristol City, and this could be absolutely huge for both clubs' season, of course. Currently, Preston are only 3 points behind Bristol City, so if we win this game, we had the opportunity to go level on points with them. And if realistically, Preston have been Bristol City's bogey team over the last few years. You know, we've got a really good record against them whenever we match up against them. But for this game, I've got a feeling it may be a score draw. I think that with both attacks on top form after their last performance, for this game, I'm going to go ahead and back it to finish as a 2-2 draw. I'm looking forward to that one. QPR going up against Derby County. Derby at the moment not in the best of form, and they really do need to be picking it up, as the teams that are currently chasing the playoffs aren't that far behind Derby, and they all seem to be ravaging to get into that top 6 place. So for this game, I'm going to back it to finish as a 1-1 draw. QPR and Loftus Road, not an easy place to go to this season, and their record against the top 6 is pretty decent. We then got Sheffield Wednesday going up against Ipswich. For this game, I'm going to fancy a Mick McCarthy 1-0 away victory. I think it'll be a bit of a smash and grab sort of game, you know. With Sheffield Wednesday, I can't see them being as open as they were against Bristol City, and Ipswich don't really have the same players as Bristol City do to go ahead and expose that. But even so, I'm going to fancy the away side for a 1-0. Sunderland against Aston Villa. Once again, Sunderland need to be going ahead and picking up points sooner rather than later. Still located at the bottom of the Championship, but even so, I'm going to fancy Villa for this one. They, of course, weren't in action on Saturday, so for that reason, I'm going to back a 3-1 away victory. Reading going up against Bolton is quite an interesting one as well. For this game, I'm gonna fancy this one to go. I'm gonna fancy Bolton, you know, to go ahead and just edge this by 1-0. They weren't brilliant in their last performance against Preston, but I fancy them to turn the screw in this one. Reading, their home form this season has been really shoddy actually, and with them seeming to lack a lot of confidence at the moment, I'm just gonna back Bolton for the 1-0 away victory. Then on Wednesday we do have Leeds United going up against Wolves, and for this game, this could be a pretty big game actually. Of course, Wolves still without Ruben Neves in this one, and with Leeds looking absolutely dreadful in their last game, they're surely going to look to shore up that back line against this Wolves side. But I get the impression that with Wolves, they may get back to form on this one, so I'm going to be backing Wolves for the 2-1 away victory in this game. I mean, just by how shoddy Leeds looked in their last game, I've got to be backing Wolves for a 2-1. So guys, there you have it. There are my Championship midweek score predictions. So like I said at the start of the video, guys, make sure you do leave all your predictions in the comments down below. Well, apart from that, guys, that will now wrap it up for this video. So if you have enjoyed, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you do subscribe for some regular Championship content. But apart from that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.